Hey guys, Cliff from Capes and Scowls here with
Olivia.
and we just got done watching Jessica Jones season 2 on Netflix. So I thought maybe we should record us talking about it.
So, yeah, we'll just, we
So-
haven't actually talked to each other about how we felt about it, so we just decided to, we'll share our thoughts right now for the first time.
And assume spoilers are coming. So if
Yeah,
you haven't
so-
finished it, leave now and come back later because I'm most likely going to spoil things. I just know that, so this is your last warning. If you haven't turned away now, you're going to hear that David Tennant shows up, and I really enjoyed all that. So, now that that's out of the way, what's your overall feeling for the season?
I thought, I guess, as overall, I thought it was okay. I thought I was on par with most of every other Marvel thing that's on Netflix. Comparing it to season 1, they really went more in depth into Jessica's backstory, which I really liked. There's a whole lot more complicated character development, especially with her mother coming back from the dead and her best friend / sister, Trish.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting how they made those two characters in particular really complicated. You really want to like them, but they're doing things that
It makes it really hard to like them.
Yeah.
So for myself, just as some previous info, I have a hard time choosing which original Marvel series Netflix show is my favorite. If somebody says Daredevil is their favorite, I'm not going to argue with them. If they say Jessica Jones is their favorite, I'm not going to argue with them. I lean more towards, of the original first seasons, Jessica Jones is my favorite. Just comparing season 1 to season 2, I don't think season 2 is as good as season 1. That's not to say I enjoyed this season. But what I feel like this season really lacked was a true antagonist. Because throughout it was well, who's the actual bad guy? And for a little while I thought, oh, well, they're going to have Trish's fiance, Griffin, be the bad guy. It's the underlying secret bad guy that's there, nice, polite, everyone likes him. It's going to end up being him.
Yeah.
And then he's just kind of...
first half of the season, they start hinting, he's planning something, he's hiding something.
Right.
When the whole time he was just planning a surprise proposal to Trish.
Right. And, I get that her... So then, they introduce her mother, and you're kind of how did she not recognize her own mom? Granted, 17 years has passed from the last time she saw her mother to present time when it takes place. And they kind of end an episode on, this giant plot hole of... I'd assume if I didn't see my mom for 17 years, I'd still recognize her.
You still recognize some portion of her.
Right.
Whether it's how she looks or her voice or something.
So
mannerisms.
I think it's episode 6, they end, and you're she just met her mom and she had no idea who her mom was.
Yeah.
What? But then they instantly clear it up in the following episode, which is fine. So her mom's had basically an entire body transplant. Face transplant.
Yeah.
And everything from an accident that was caused. So her mom's been through the same treatment that Jessica went through, but numerous times. So she's actually a lot stronger than Jessica and everything. So it's really a real threat, but she's a threat, but then they play her off as nice and trying to be better. So for me, I feel the season ended kind of hollow and empty because there was no true villain. Mm-hmm. And that bothered me. Everyone's at some point or other played the role of antagonist, but nobody was truly set in that role.
Yeah. I kind of liked that aspect of it, because I guess it's different from the norm, I think, and it kind of makes the show more interesting, because you're not sure who to like and who you should be, against. But the whole time, they were really making the mother to be this monster. Here's this monster. She's just as strong, if not more powerful than Jessica. She gets introduced, the mother, like, kind of, gets out of her shackles and murders this guy that got, was stealing, actually was hired by another PI that was stealing Jessica's, information on the case she was working on. The mother killed him just because she's just gets homicidal when her, anger strikes.
She kind of turns into, like, way less powerful Hulk. Like, she hits, 200 beats a minute and just zones out and just goes on a rage bender. So, like, he kind of, I feel like, was, like, accidentally killed to, like, progress, like, that story. For, like, character development, I think the character I enjoyed the most was Malcolm. And, like, I feel like he came a long way, and I really liked him in this. But I kind of feel like they had, like, way too many storylines going and didn't get to flesh them out fully. Like, you had Malcolm looking into the stuff for Hogarth while she was being kicked out, and you had Jessica's mom thing, and then the doctor, and Trish wanting to be Jessica, and Simpson showing up for an episode. I think it was, to me, it felt like a lot of short storylines that they drew out for a little too long.
The part where they could have overdone it a bit, but the fact that they did do it, I think they did wrap it up the best they could.
Yeah, I think they did good for how thin they stretched themselves. Mm-hmm. I think my favorite episode or episodes are the ones that have David Tennant in. And just from, like, us watching it, when that first episode starts, Jessica has just accidentally killed a prison guard that was torturing her mother. It was definitely self-defense. I don't think she intended to kill him. But the next episode starts with, like, her hearing, like, voices in her head, and then at one point there's a nice hue of purple across the screen, and you hear David Tennant's voice once. And it's just like, oh shit, he's still there. Yeah. And I was disappointed that she killed him at the end of the first season, because I feel like that would be a great villain to keep around. I know I talked about this on, like, the podcast a couple of years ago when it had come out, that he, to me, was really, like, the most, like, villainous villain because of his power. Like, he's, like, the creepiest, like, most terrifying villain you could have, because he could really use that power over anyone. Mm-hmm. And, like, Jessica's really just, like, a minor level superpowered person. Could you imagine if he had gotten in Tony Stark's ear with a suit, or gotten in Hulk's ear? You would have had, like, when Scarlet Witch took over Hulk. Mm-hmm. Like, it could have been, like, and David Tennant's, like, such a great actor. I feel like all the parts that he had were great. So for me, that was my favorite part of the whole show. I don't know how you felt about him coming back and just playing sort of like the, I guess, like, Tyler Durden-y, like, part where...
It was just showing that he's still in her head, that she doesn't want to be a murderer, and the fact that she had to kill Kilgrave is still haunting her, and that makes her a murderer, and it's just playing off that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I do like David Tennant as an actor. I felt the episode he was in was a little bit gratuitous, but I'm still glad they brought him back.
Well, they were like, hey, we have him on set today. Let's ram him in as much as we can.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because, like, I'm a huge fan of his. I feel like when he's on screen, you're, like, drawn to him. And I guess that's just, like, his personality.
Mm-hmm.
But so, like, some of the other stuff, like, that happened in the season is, like, you have Trish basically falling, like, relapsing. And, like, falling back into, like, you know, an addict. And basically trying to, like, destroy everything around her.
Yeah. And that was... Her character probably disturbed me the most, I think, out of all of them. Because I think it's... her problems and struggles were so real. And you don't expect someone close to you to be, I guess, like, obsessed with something that they never had, and don't actually understand what they're getting themselves into.
Right, and it's right, and you can definitely tell, like, so yeah, she definitely falls back on her, like, addiction ways, and how that can destroy everyone around you, and how, like, when an addict is looking for something, they will do literally anything to get it. Mm-hmm. Like, she ends up trying to get, like, Malcolm off the wagon because she thinks it'll end up helping, and she, for the lack of a better term, like, whores herself out to him just to get what she needs, which is, like, info or to a place. So it's kind of like a, like, I don't know, she's always come across as a bit pretentious for me. And, like, her mom as a character is supposed to bother you, and she really bothers me. Mm-hmm. It really annoys me that she always calls her Patsy. I'm like, your daughter's name is Trish.
Yeah.
That was a character she played. That's not who she is anymore. And it's just sort of like, she has to be in the spotlight. Or be like that person. Like, I feel like if she truly had, like, Jessica's powers, I don't know if she'd be a good guy.
Right. And that's kind of how they're, you know, setting her up to be. So, yeah, who knows?
Which is kind of strange, though, because in the comics, she is a good guy.
Yeah. Like,
but
she has the best of intentions, but, like, her, you know.
Right. Where she ends up is not her...
her actions don't...
Right. Her execution of things don't always lead the best way. Yeah. But they allude to her having powers at the end. Mm-hmm.
Like, she had that quick reflex there with her phone.
Right.
So...
Which I'm not familiar enough with her character in the comic to know if that's what she has.
Yeah, I'm not sure what her powers are.
Right. I don't know if she's just a regular, like, well-trained character. Like, you know, knows martial arts and everything. Is, like, above average fighter. Mm-hmm. Could easily beat up 1 or 2 guys, 3 guys that are, you know, just like street thugs because she's well trained. I don't know if that's where it ends or if she does, you know, move into the powered realm. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's something I can look into to find out. Yeah. But I mean, like, all in all, I am happy with the series. I enjoyed it. I mean, to say that it was better than Iron Fist isn't much. But did you notice that they made, like, no mention of anything Defenders? And, like, the only time
now that you pointed out, yeah.
The only time anything outside of Jessica Jones got mentioned was when Hogarth was leaving her law firm, said that she's taking all of her clients and Rand. Mm-hmm. That's the only... There's only one instance of the other shows being made mention. Rosario Dawson never shows up.
What's his name shows up? Foggy showed up.
In, like, one scene.
Yeah.
So but he works for Hogarth.
Yeah.
So, like, that's just, like, one of those, well, I guess for me, it's like, well, obviously he's there because he works for her. So like that's kind of interesting. Like, is Marvel, like Disney and Netflix, like, oh, we know Iron Fist and Defenders weren't very well received, and are we just gonna kind of like push it under the rug?
Maybe.
Which that would kind of be like the first for them.
Yeah.
Because they have like a great track record for even like their bad things still being good. But like Iron Fist, I know you didn't watch all of Iron Fist, was utter garbage.
Yeah, I couldn't get through it.
Like just complete and total garbage. So it's like maybe they're like a little shy with, bringing stuff up. And concerns of like people having like an association with, this is tied to that. It's going to be garbage too.
Yeah, so in the, Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's been easy to tie everything in together so far because everything has been pretty good. But,
like even the bad stuff is still watchable.
Yeah, but now in the, Netflix universe, it's, we had a fall with Iron Fist and then Defenders, but I guess I don't know. I guess it's gonna be tough for them to kind of course correct and make the brand as a whole good all together.
Because like the collection is so much smaller for the next Netflix shows, so it's really just 2 seasons of Daredevil. We just finished our 2nd season of Jessica Jones. 1 season of Luke Cage, 1 season of Iron Fist, and 1 season of Defenders. It's only 7 seasons in total. And Punisher, 8. So like a quarter of them aren't good, or like up to standard with everything else. Because like I off tangent again. Like I really liked Punisher.
I like that too.
I thought that was a really interesting take. Like explaining PTSD and how that affected people differently. And like more of like an accurate portrayal of it, and how it affects each person individually. So like that's like another great show. And I guess I need to go back and like for myself re-rank how I put everything. Like season 1 of Daredevil, is it better than Punisher and Jessica Jones? Is Jessica Jones season 1 better than the other 2? For myself, I definitely think both Daredevils, both Jessica Jones, and Punisher in the top 5 for me. But I haven't worked out an order for it.
I'm not too concerned about where I'm placing everything. I just think it's, Jessica Jones season 2, it's worth the watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. The storytelling is compelling. You're gonna get way like a lot out of it, storytelling wise.
There's definitely a lot of character development and delving into like issues that the characters had, which is great.
Yeah.
And it helps set up for the future. So like I've not that season 1 didn't have a lot of story building, but I feel like they slowed down and shoehorned in a lot of character development in this for particular characters.
Particularly, Hogarth, since she's kind of a fluid character in, each show, sort of, right now. She got, you find out she gets diagnosed with ALS, and, of course, trying to use her power and influence to try and cure herself. And, now she's dealing with this on top of, her, crazy career dealing with, these superpowered, people.
And, for her being, like, a secondary character that, like, floats between season, they really put a lot of time and effort into developing her.
Yeah.
So, like, they're really concerned with you understanding the characters, which is good.
I guess that'll be put into use in other shows, maybe.
I would hope that it gets used because of how much effort they devoted into it.
Yeah.
I did get a little tired of just, it seemed like she was coming on to everyone that walked near her.
Yeah.
Like, I just got a little tired of that with her.
Yeah, it was... Yeah, that was a little overboard.
Right, like, okay, I get it. I get it, you know. She's having, like, I have an incurable disease crisis, and she just tries to sleep with everyone that she comes in contact with. It's kind of how I felt, like, with how much it was there. I'm like, I get it. Mm-hmm. Like, you can...
That was...
gratuitous.
The most gratuitous thing
Yeah.
in the show, yeah.
Because like, the whole thing with Inez and ended up being Inez's boyfriend, like, I kind of got over that. Like, faster than they got over it. Like, I understand why it's important. Because it, like, kind of taught her a lesson. But I feel like that lesson could have been taught in a much quicker way. Like, I feel like that's something that could have been more cut and dry. And not have as much... Or not have it spread out over as many episodes as it was.
Yeah.
Like, that's my thought on that.
But I guess the point of it was to make Inez and... I guess his name, what was it, Shane?
Shane. To
be much more important characters than
they actually
were.
Yeah.
So I think that was the whole point of that.
Yeah.
But.
So, I mean, if you had to give Jessica Jones Season 2 a grade on like an A through F scale, what would you give Jessica Jones Season 2?
A B, because I think the complexity of it might turn some people off. But overall, I felt it was good.
I'm with her. I'm gonna give it a B. I don't think it was great, and I'm mainly giving it a B just due to the lack of a true antagonist, and maybe just time spent on stories that weren't as important as developing a real villain. And I mean, that's something that we differ on. But we both enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For different reasons. We both have issues with it that are different. But I would definitely recommend it to people to watch. I mean, obviously watch the first season first if this is your first viewing into it.
Yeah.
Don't jump in. You'll be confused and miss important things. But yeah. Do you have anything you want to add at the end here?
No, not really. I would say, don't watch if, you don't like violence or, anything like that. But I think it's a good, like probably the grittiest, Marvel Netflix show out there.
I think in style, because like Daredevil had a lot of violence and grit.
Yeah.
Punisher, I think they're all different in how they portray it. But maybe that's a discussion for something else, comparing the arguably 3 best series.
Yeah. For
it. So, if you guys like this and want to find more stuff, listen to us talk, check out capesandscowlspodcast.com. If you have any comments, email us at capesandscowlspodcast@gmail.com. I'm Cliff, and I can be found on Twitter at HyperHippo. There's no E in hyper. And Olivia?
You can find me at Swahili Love on Twitter. And on Instagram at La Civil Okra. And we'll see you guys next time.
Have a good night.